Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. I want to do a bit of a sort of leisurely Sunday afternoon musing, just looking at the flooding really, and seeing how this winter sort of ranks in terms of past very wet winters, and also perhaps explaining some of the reasons why I think this very extremely wet winter has occurred. Now, before I get on with the video, I just want to say I'm not appearing on the camera today because my eyes aren't very good, so I'm squinted away here at the screen, so hopefully you can hear me okay through the microphone. There's video ads on my pages at gazweathervids.com. If you press play on the video ad, you'll be supporting gazweathervids.com, and thanks very much for doing that. So yeah, we're going to have a bit of a leisurely Sunday afternoon sort of musing today. Just want to say that all of the charts that you see, or all of the information you see on this in this video, can be found on my links page. So we're going to start off with the Central England temperature at Hadley to see how the how mild the winter has been. We'll start off with December first of all, which came in with a Central England temperature of 6.2, and of course the Central England temperature is the longest and most reliable statistic of temperatures anywhere in the world, with a record going right the way back to the year 1659, so it's an incredibly long sort of index of temperatures. So yeah, December came in at 6.2. It was the mildest December since 2006. And then of course we've had a very mild January as well. That came in at 5.7, which was an anomaly of 1.9 degrees above average. Very mild month, though it's only the mildest since 2008. And provisionally February is currently at 5.4, so it is going to be another very mild month. I think there's no sign of anything particularly cold coming up. An anomaly of 1.6 degrees, so I don't think it's going to be quite such a big anomaly as what we had in January, and that's because February on average is a warming month, though it starts off on average very cold. The second half of February tends to start to warm up a little bit, and it's a upward trend then all the way to summer. But yeah, we're not going to have quite such the anomaly that we had in January, but nevertheless it is going to be a very mild month, with an anomaly at least a degree, I think, above average. So overall it is going to be a mild winter, very mild winter, but of course it's the rainfall that's really been making the headlines. Tremendous rainfall this winter, real sort of flooding across many southern and southwestern parts of the country. You do have to feel those people that have got all that water flowing through their homes. I'm going to show you the wettest winters and the wettest seasons on record. This is from the forum at theweatheroutlook.com. The website Weather Outlook has an excellent forum and lots of very interesting information posted on there. This has come from the keeper of all the data. It's Mr. Data, Kevin Bradshaw. So thanks very much to him for posting this on the Weather Outlook forum, and thanks very much to that forum for allowing me to use this information for my video. So the wettest winter on record was 1914-1915, with an anomaly, with an England and Wales rainfall anomaly of 423 millimetres average out. Then we have second wettest winter on record, which is 88-89. Then 1876-1877 was the third wettest. 1994-1995 the fourth wettest, and then we come to this winter, 2013-2014, with an England and Wales average. These are not anomalies, sorry, these are England and Wales averages of 412 millimetres. So we've got just another 11 millimetres to go to beat the all-time record in 1914-1915. I think we will beat that. There's going to be more rain coming up over the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we are going to beat that, I think, 1914-1915, and you'll hear a lot about it on the news and in the papers that this is going to be the wettest winter on record. But in terms of the seasons overall, what is the wettest season overall? Well, that actually is 2000, the year 2000. The autumn was phenomenally wet that year. I'm sure you remember it, with an average of 502 millimetres across England and Wales. We are not going to beat that autumn. That will remain the wettest season on record, as will the second wettest, which was the autumn of 1852. And I don't think either that we're going to beat the third wettest season, which was the autumn of 1960. We're probably going to beat the fourth wettest season, which was the autumn of 1935, coming out at 424 millimetres. So we're probably going to finish up with the fourth wettest season overall. We're not going to have the wettest season on record. That will easily remain the year 2000. But we are going to have the wettest winter on record. I think that is quite probable. Now, I've been hearing a lot about climate change and global warming, about whether that is the cause of this. It's difficult to say, really, isn't it? Because there's no general trend there. We've got the wettest coming out at wettest winter coming out at 1914, 1915. Then the second wettest comes out at 88, 89. The third wettest comes out at 1876, 1877. The fourth wettest, 1994, 1995. And then we've got this one, and this one is going to end up the wettest on record. The wettest since 1914, 1915. That's a very, very long time ago, although 88, 89, 90 did get close to it. But it looks like a good scattering of seasons, really, there. I don't think there's a general trend that you could say, the winters are getting wetter and wetter. So it's very difficult to say whether this could be down to climate change. I've got my doubts, really. You would need, before you could start attributing this to something like climate change or global warming, you would need at least another couple, I think, of winters within a short time frame to really be able to say, but pinpoint it that is the cause. As long as it's just one winter spread out over 20 or 30 years, longer, of course, I mean 1914, 1915, nearly a century ago, as long as you're just getting one winter, one season coming along that's very extreme in terms of rainfall, then it's very difficult to attribute it to one specific thing. I think it's really the pattern that's been driving this winter, and the pattern has been well, it's been very cold in the United States. We've had these deep troughs of low pressure forming in the east of the states. We've had the ridge sitting around the Pacific coast of the states, a warm ridge that's been driving the cold trough coming out of the Canada and going into the east of the states. And then, of course, that cold air comes over the warm ocean and it generates areas of low pressure, and it gives us a very strong jet stream. So then we get the jet stream running across the Atlantic. That isn't a particularly unusual pattern, to be honest. You do get very cold winters in the east of the states. We've got the warm Gulf Stream in the Atlantic, so that explodes at the low pressure, and it's a typical sort of pattern. But what's been quite unusual is that we've also had these ridges sitting to the east of the country, which has kind of locked in this trough over the British Isles, particularly in January. We sort of locked in the trough. The low pressures were not able to clear the country as they would normally do in a typical zonal winter because of that ridge sitting up to the northeast. So that sort of held everything up and kept the trough in situ, more or less, over the country. But it's also interesting that this very wet winter has occurred at a time of solar maximum. We are in the maximum of the solar cycle 24. Here is the chart showing us how the solar cycle has progressed. We've gone upwards from solar minimum, which occurred around 2008, 2009. We have gone up to this maximum of the solar cycle. It's a weak maximum compared to the last cycle, solar cycle 23, but it's interesting that the last maximum occurred in the year 2000. Of course, that's when we had those tremendous floods in the autumn of the year 2000, and now we've got the next maximum occurring, well, has occurred right now, and we've had this very wet winter. So maybe there's an idea there that you can get these very wet seasons occurring around the time of the solar maximums. But I think you'd need to look at a lot more solar cycles, solar maximums, to see whether that is indeed the case. But it certainly is interesting that in the year 2000 we have the solar maximum, had that very wet autumn, wettest season on record, and won't be beaten by this winter. And then this winter we've got the solar maximum and we've got the very wet winter. So that's just something to ponder. But you would need to look at a lot more solar cycles, many more solar cycles really, before you could definitively say there's a link. The sea surface temperature anomalies are interesting, have been interesting this winter. This warm water up around the coast of Alaska and the Pacific coast of Alaska and Canada and North America has been the troublemaker, I think, because that's generated an area of high pressure up there, and consequently we've had the jet stream then digging southwards across the states, which has then translated to a trough in the east of the states, the cold air around that trough. And then, of course, we've had this warm water around the eastern seaboard. So as the cold air comes over the warm ocean here in the Atlantic, it's the warm Atlantic multi-decadal oscillation at the moment, which means the Atlantic is generally set up to a warm phase. As that cold air from the east states comes over that warm water, then you get the trouble. You get the low pressures building up and really spawning those deep Atlantic storm systems. But it is the pattern that's driving this. I think it's quite an unusual pattern to have warm water up here around the coast of Alaska and Canada. Not a typically warm place. Generally, this is quite a cold part of the Pacific Ocean. So it is quite unusual that we've had that warm water there, and I think it's all sort of playing. Everything's come together this winter to produce this very extremely wet winter. But I don't really think you can attribute this winter on its own to global warming and to climate change. My view is that it's a freak. A lot of things have come together to produce a very unusual winter. That said, the weather is getting more extreme, I think. Certainly in the past year it has been very extreme. We had the very cold March, we had a very really hot July. Now we've had this very wet winter, so is that down to the solar cycle? Is it down to what's going on in the oceans? Or is it down to global warming, climate change? It's a whole can of worms that you start opening up when you get into all of this. But I think on its own, as I say, this one winter, very wet winter that it is, I think it's really the oceans and the overall pattern that's come together to drive the very extreme events. And don't get me wrong, it has been a very extreme winter. It will end up the wettest on record. Now, I have hope, but as we get through to the end of February, we might see a bit of a drying trend. But look at this. This is the latest GFS temperature and precipitation ensemble. Not really interested in the temperatures. They're going to be remaining generally above average for the rest of February. But look at all these rainfall spikes coming back. Now, we are going to have a few days of drier weather coming up this week. There'll still be the odd band of rain coming through, but I think overall we're going to have a few days of better conditions. But look at this, as we get beyond the 21st of February, loads of rainfall spikes coming back there for the final week of the month. As I say, I had hoped that the final week would dry out. I'm not sure now. That looks very grim, to be honest. Those precipitation spikes do look very nasty, and it could well be that things will get wetter again in the final week of February. And really, from that ensemble, there is still no sign of an end to the deluge, I'm afraid. So just having a very quick look at the GFS model before I go. It is indicating the chance of a cold snap once we get through to the start of March. Haven't had many cold snaps this winter, but by the 1st of March, which is 312 hours away, it's a heck of a long way out, so don't take it seriously. But it's trying to push the trough eastwards this morning and bring us this northerly wind. This will be the first sort of northerly cold snap of the winter, would you believe? We've waited a long time for it, but there it is, a northerly cold snap on the 2nd of March. As we get through to the start of spring, of course, you couldn't make that up. But there we go, we're in the northerly flow for the first few days of March, although probably not lasting very long. It looks as though by the time we get through to the fall, the Atlantic wants to come back again. But as I say, that's a very long way off. It's right in the Fantasy Island part of the GFS model, so don't take that too seriously at all. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you found it interesting. Just a little bit of information about the winter, how it fits in with past years that have been very, very wet, and past seasons as well. And just some ideas about what I think has been driving it. Mainly that unusual pattern with the warm water around the Pacific coast of Canada and North America, and then the warm water around the eastern side of the states. I think the two have combined to produce quite an extreme pattern over the United States and in the Atlantic. that's it for now. We'll be back to normal tomorrow with a typical video, what I normally do, sort of 8 to 10 day musing. So we'll come back to that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.